welcome to episode 3 of Conversations with Real People featuring Chris. He is a teacher. I was a teacher. We agree on much and disagree on quite a bit. So stay tuned and see how it all works out.
Should be. They shouldn't be in a classroom ruining it for everybody else. And then hopefully you can get them in some other situation where you can do them some good. But
Exactly. So that's and in one way, yeah. On the one hand, yes, they're ruining it for the other kids, but for their own development too, you'd want to view it as, hey, your needs aren't being met here. That's the reason all this is getting bad. And I know that sort of takes out some of the personal responsibility that I know that
I was going to just bring that up
big
because
with your individual.
I do think if you want to keep people out of prison, for instance, they have to be taught their side of the responsibilities. Not here's the teacher's responsibility to you, here's your responsibility to the teacher. And when it's all about them, how are they supposed to learn about coming from the other direction? And then they end up being users for the rest of their life, and that you can't blame on them if that's all they ever experienced.
Yeah, and there is no delayed gratification. It does not exist. There is no I'm going to save money for college. That you can't. They can't do that. It's not going to happen.
They haven't experienced. Well, there's poverty for you. I mean, poverty is
exactly.
I got to get this bill paid right now.
I need to eat today. I don't even know what I'm going to eat tomorrow.
Right.
So there's a lot of that, and that's what you're fighting against. And in the meantime, back in the old days, we just used to be like, screw them. They'll end up in jail. Whatever will happen to them, they'll be dead. I don't care. It's not my problem.
Well, there's always been people like that, and there are now. But I don't think it was always. Not everybody was like that or whatever.
Yeah, that's the extreme view for sure. That's what I mean when I talk about the extreme view of that. And well, I mean, as long as we're talking about all kinds of stuff and we're having a good conversation, we can talk about, like, for example, do you think immigration? How do you think we should handle immigration?
Well, people use that word immigration, but they always think about the word that goes ahead of it, legal or illegal, and that's what matters, because we're all in favor of legal immigration.
I think so, but I don't know about that. I'm not even sure a lot of people are in favor of illegal immigration.
Legal immigration has changed all over the place since day one. There's not been some immigration law that's stayed that way forever. So
when you have a declining population like we do here in America, what are you going to do?
Yeah. But my point is not we're declining. Not before you worry about do we need more immigrants or do we want to get rid of some. Before you even consider that, I consider the legal part of it. And believe me, I'm the last person to say it's all about the law. Last person. But we have laws for a reason, and just having people come across the border and we don't even know where they are, what they're doing. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what I'm sorry, but I think all the people who are talking about they're opposed to the illegal immigration. That's what they're getting at.
Well, why don't we just make a North American Union, and then we'll have Mexico and America being the same. We'll have an open border.
Well, we had NAFTA, and NAFTA turned out to be a big mess.
Well,
but no, hold on. My point is, I'm the guy that's saying our own federal government has usurped way too much power over the states that it doesn't have any right to according to the Constitution.
If we didn't have so many stupid states, it wouldn't be a problem.
No. States have a right to be stupid.
I'm being flippant because now I'm having fun with your podcast, and it's good. I appreciate it.
But my point is that states have the right to be states. You don't have to live in them. You're not living in Alabama right now.
You can't let them totally make a black hole in the middle of two other good functioning states. So the problem I have is, I'm from the South. I grew up in the South, and I watched them all make such horrible decisions. Yeah. Most of them are based on they're not governing. They're making bullshit laws. What was it about? Oh, they just made a law, Kay Ivey in Alabama just made a law that all teachers have to publish their lesson plans ahead of time because the hidden agenda, these teachers might be teaching whatever, but teachers already have to send their lesson. We already have been doing that forever.
Well,
so instead of legislating on issues that are really important, they're it's redundancy.
Yeah, no, so you don't have to talk me into having less government.
Kay Ivey is the Republican, she's the governor of Alabama. She's the governor of Alabama.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
And
that.
they call her Meemaw. But anyway, it's like, you know, like they can't. And like DeSantis with his anti-woke laws and stuff, like legislate real stuff. Solve the insurance problem in Florida, you know? Don't come at me about woke bullshit because I don't care.
No,
one
I agree.
cares.
Well, see, what do they say? They say, for instance, great, I'm doing great here. All real estate is local. You know what I'm saying? So whatever the market is someplace else, it doesn't matter where you is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. But I'm saying most things should be local, and most things, and when you get down to it, are.
most states
So
are
I don't
like-
care
yeah.
if at a school board meeting of the Podunk School Board for Podunk
that they decide no
that,
woke.
that they're fighting it out. I don't care. Go there and fight it out. That's the idea.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so
yeah.
this guy's woke, this guy's anti-woke. Let them fight it out. No
Yeah.
fist.
Yeah.
But let them vote for who they vote for.
Mhm.
Preferably come to compromise as opposed to actually going all this way or all that way, which doesn't do anybody any
Don't you
good.
wish we could compromise?
Yeah.
I really do, because you have to. It's what's missing right now. It's stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
It's because we're electing people that aren't politicians. They're just
No, because they are
platform.
politicians.
They're grandstanders.
Yeah.
And I mean, all they're in there to line their pockets.
Yeah.
You've heard about the whole. There's a whole subreddit. You know Reddit.
Yeah,
Reddit.
yeah.
It's a whole subreddit. All they do is follow Nancy Pelosi's stock trades, and they buy what she buys.
I believe that.
And they're like, because she has insider information that's
Yeah,
illegal to everyone else.
Yeah. Because that reminded when you say that.
But it was to a point of what we were just talking
Well,
about.
what I was pointing out, okay, let's do it this way. Here's the woke folk, here's the anti-woke, okay? We're gonna say the woke folk are Democrats and the anti-woke are Republicans, because that's a fairly good parallel.
Representative.
But here's the thing. We're talking about government here, and when you talk about federal, state, or local, or this state and that state, but the two political parties, they aren't part of government. They're special interest groups that have no governmental
Yes.
authority.
Yes.
And everybody keeps forgetting that.
I know, but officials make them forget because they should be officials first and politicians second.
There you go, but they aren't.
And they
And
should
that-
be boring government wonks that know their job.
I think we agree on this. Most politicians, whether they're governor, senator, mayor, councilman, they are a party member first. They're a Democrat first, and then they're the mayor, or they're a Republican first, and then they're the mayor.
Yeah.
They're the governor, they're the Republican first, and then they're the governor, or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just dead wrong. That's, I
Yeah.
think, when you really, if you want to try to figure out what overarches all of this and kind of explains why we have this mess, whether it's education or anything else, that's it. Those two parties that don't even have any right to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They have a right to exist. They don't have the right to write laws and pass laws.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, I have a hard time with all of it, honestly. People will give Biden a bunch of shit, and I don't have a problem with Biden.
I
really
do.
don't.
I mean, I've been laughing at him for 50 years.
I
I stop
know,
now.
you've seen him around forever, and I just don't really have a problem with it because it hasn't affected my life in any way.
Whoa. You could be a Nazi in Germany and say, I don't have a problem with the Nazis. They haven't affected me.
Yeah, right, because I have a level of privilege that it doesn't affect me. That's true. I do.
Whoever, whatever
Yeah.
you are, yeah.
Yeah, I
Too
do,
bad about those
definitely.
people over there, but I'm okay.
So no, but I mean, like, so I can't personally think of any impact it's made on my life having them in there that I can think of.
Well, excuse me, but inflation,
Right, but it's worldwide inflation, and so our
the
president
world economy is tied to the dollar. If we have inflation, everybody has inflation.
right. But I don't think that. I mean, I think it was just worldwide inflation because of a worldwide event like the pandemic. I think that politicians.
And did he handle the pandemic the way he should have? I don't think so.
Businesses are above government, and businesses decided to raise prices. That's what happened with inflation.
Well, no, that's not, I was in business. No. I would just love to have just raised my prices and make more money. You can't do that. You lose your customers. Count on it.
Okay. Well,
I mean, people
So-
blame, for instance, whatever,
so I don't. Okay.
when the gas prices go up, people blame the gas company, the petroleum companies, whoever. But when the prices come down, nobody gives them credit and says, well, thank you very much for lowering your prices. It's always their fault when they raise them, but they don't get any credit for lowering them.
The gas companies, you're saying?
Yeah, whoever, I mean, you know, but,
Yeah. I mean, gas prices have been incredibly low for the last 4 years. It's been great because I drive a diesel truck, and diesel is below gasoline price for the first time I've
Yeah,
ever
well,
seen it in
good
my
for
whole
you.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously. So diesel's been great. But anyway, so I'm not one of those people that like I don't hate all politicians. Like I don't know, like
well, I blame the two parties more than I blame any particular politician.
Yeah,
The structure of what we've got here, which isn't even legitimate at all, I think is the biggest part of the problem.
what's that now?
The structure of our government, which is made of two parties. We're supposed to have
Yeah.
the separation of powers in the federal government, powers, plus federal, state, and local, each with their authority. And by the way, the states of the three, the states are the most powerful in theory, not the federal government. Just as the European Union is not the most powerful entity in Europe.
I like to think about it maybe in a different way, and we can
Well,
see what you think.
No, well, I'm just saying, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Oh no! But what I mean is, this is conspiracy
Get
type
back in,
stuff.
get back in.
Oh,
picture.
okay. So I think that that corporations founded America and corporations run America. I think the whole Washington, every bit of it is all more just a story. And what it really is, they wanted to get out from under the thumb of the monarchy, and they wanted to be the monarchy. And so here in America, they are the monarchy.
Well, who's they? Who's they?
Multi-billionaire people that in wealthy families that didn't have a big enough slice of the pie in Europe, and they came here and started corporations. So originally it would be wealthy families. I would
Yeah,
have to say
well,
wealthy.
but yeah, you're losing me on the chronology here. Are you talking about like 1776 or what?
Yeah, like
Because
all
by the
way
time
back.
1776, there's been a series of European, the colonies have been here 100 years, give or take,
Yeah.
depending which one, but had been here 100 years, so yeah, they'd had time to build things up. And yeah, George Washington married a wealthy woman, he didn't make his own money, but Thomas Jefferson, yeah, they were all,
Oh, but even I'm just saying. So sort of in my mind, I'm like, is all of that just the front story? And like,
I know,
just a very small part
I'm
of
going with what
America?
you're, I'm going with what you're
Yeah.
saying. So you got these people who have accumulated wealth, built their wealth, and they're paying taxes to the monarchy and having to answer to the monarchy, the Stamp Act and so forth.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, and at this point, they were running the country. King George wasn't running the colonists were running
They
the
were,
colonies.
yeah, they were
They
making-
didn't need England for squat, except for trade, which is huge, but you know, they didn't need it for government.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's just factually
And it
true.
sort of seems like they're like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll make our own government, and these clowns will do whatever we want them to. So from the very beginning, I almost wonder if all of it wasn't just a farce. If it
Well,
wasn't the illusion,
no, I think they were. I think
the
they were
illusion of
genuine.
democracy in a way.
Yeah, the what?
The illusion of democracy.
Well, it's not a democracy. They
what
specifically
I'm
said,
saying.
yeah, they specifically said we don't want a democracy. They did not want any part of the federal government to be of the people, which is funny because the preamble says we the people. And that's the only place that I know of anywhere in the federal government that any document says we the people is the preamble to the Constitution, which goes on to say all the power of the states, and then it then says, oh, by the way, here's some power for the people. But I think they were legitimate. I don't think they were lying. Or,
No, I don't think they were lying
yeah.
either. I think it's a legitimate story with a compelling
But,
story, and
yeah.
that it's sort of like that's the story that carries. And when we talk about America, that's what we think of. But America is basically just a bunch of, like how many billionaires are there in this country?
Well, I don't
How do we get to this place?
There weren't any back then.
How do we get to this place where you have so many people accumulating wealth again? How did you go from
Yeah,
the
well,
JP
okay,
Morgan's
let me
era to
catch
now?
up. Let me catch up with you there. My point is these colonists, Washington, Jefferson, Madison, they're already in their colonial governments. They were already running their governments under King George. So when they overthrew King George, it changed very little, really. They just kept on running things the way they'd been running them.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the presence of England as a protector of the colonies. All of a sudden, they were all alone. And that's when, I guess it was Ben Franklin said, we must
Go to the
all,
French.
we must, no, well, that wasn't when I was getting that. But he said we must all hang together or we will truly all hang separately. They had to get together, and that's kind of how a federal government ended up happening. I'm leaving out a lot of steps, but So it was real, it was true. And the people who did all this, they had been there all along. They didn't overthrow anybody, really.
Oh, no. I just mean the quiet, wealthy families that are in the background, helping finance all of the wars and finance everything else.
I have no problem with wealthy people. If they aren't stealing it, I have no problem. If,
Right,
if they
exactly,
are
but-
stealing, I don't care if a person's, okay,
What
a
if you're
person in deep poverty steals a loaf of bread, I get it. He's
What if
desperate.
it's fraud? What if you're stealing through denying? What if you're stealing through inflating property values, for example? That's real
Oh,
money.
yeah, oh,
That's
yeah,
thieving.
oh,
That's
yeah,
theft.
oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's very much. I'm gonna go.
But
ahead and go,
don't just blame the rich people. That's certain people who did that. And
Yeah,
as
people
far as I'm
still-
concerned, take them out back and shoot them and get it over with. But that's not just all rich people, you know. I watched the 2008 meltdown, and by that time I was knowledgeable enough that I just could watch it. I could see it developing. No surprises for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, are these people crazy? And it was.
That was because of the .com bubble.
It
right?
was, no,
that's
nothing
different.
to
That's-
do
this
with
is
it.
the
That was
banking.
before
This
that.
is
The dot-com
2008.
bubble didn't amount to anything.
This is the banking thing.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it and
Subprime mortgage.
oh, you named it,
That's what it was all
subprime,
about.
that was the key term, subprime
ARMs,
market.
or-
And
yeah.
there are books written about it and I've read them and I'm not gonna
Oh no, I
reread the
know.
whole book. But my point is, I say, this is a bubble, and bubbles always burst. And people are gonna lose their homes, banks are gonna fail. I'm saying this ahead of time, and I'm not like, because I'm so smart, a lot of people were
I got
saying,
my first house with no money down.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to the show on the radio, some real estate show. I'm just driving, and it was maybe 2007 perhaps. And this woman was talking to a landlord who owns some properties, not a big, huge guy, but he's doing well enough that he had 40, 50 properties in various buildings. And they're talking about the coming collapse, you know, like, doesn't everybody know? And but I'm listening, and the guy's explaining, you know, when it collapses, you're not gonna wanna have to sell anything for at least 3 years. So if there's anything you wanna sell it now. Don't wait any longer, because when it collapses, you won't be able to sell it for squat, and you'll be stuck with it. If you want to own, this sells through it all, I'm fine, you know, why not? That's where I wanted to be, I stayed here. It didn't bother me. But, so he was telling the host of the real estate show that he was selling properties that he didn't want to still be owning 3 years from now, and keeping the ones he did want to keep owning. And of course, prices were just going up and up and up. And she said, the obvious question, why aren't you afraid of selling too soon? And he said, no, I'm afraid of selling too late. I'd rather leave a little on the table, and maybe I could have got a little more, but I'll sell it now for good money. And if I could have got a little more good money, okay, I didn't get it, but I got good money. And when the shit hits the fan, I'll be sitting right where I want to be sitting, and I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
And anybody could have done that. Anybody could have done that. Look at all the idiots that didn't do that. You know, and that's how these things happen. So I don't just blame the rich people, but there's rich people to blame, but it's not all on them.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, we just have a different view. I think there's just a certain amount that's enough, and after that, it's just exploitation. Like, if the minimum wage is still $7.25, Jesus Christ. I mean, I know you think, you probably
You're
think the
not
federal
making
government
that-
shouldn't even mandate what the minimum wage is.
I don't think there should be a minimum wage.
But I just think there's plenty of people that are fine with child labor. They're fine with going back to the way things used to be, and pickers and all that
Well,
stuff.
I get
And
your
I'm
point.
not.
I get
I'm
your
not
point,
fine
no.
with that.
Because, you know, I'm a laissez-faire individualist. Do what you want to do. Don't do what you don't want to do. If you want a good job, well, you got to be a good employee. That's kind of the way it ought to be. If you want to make a living wage, do living wage work.
If you're a good
Yeah.
employee, you gotta have a good faith. You gotta have good faith that your employer is a good employer too. You know,
Absolutely, it's a
both
two-way.
ways.
It's a two-way street.
So
It's not a
there's
one-way
just-
street. It's not. Hey, let's make it all about the employee.
A lot of
No.
times too, yeah, you're forced to take this crappy job, and it's like,
No,
it's,
no, no,
you
no,
know,
no,
it
no,
could
no,
be
no.
better.
If you're
Better.
if you're in high school, let me tell you this.
CEOs
I,
make too much
Chris,
money.
I hired people. I hired a lot of people. So
But
let
CEOs
me
make
tell you
too much
something.
money. CEOs make too much money.
Depends on the CEO.
43 million. It's
Technically,
too much
you
money.
think all CEOs make 43 million?
They definitely all make at least.
But let me
700.
go back to what I was saying. I hired a lot of people. And understand, okay, you hire somebody, well, that means they're available. Think of all the people who have a job and they're not available because they got a good job and they're happy. Okay, so the people are floating around out there that are available to hire are not always the best, the most desirable. So a lot of people I hired, let's just say we're not the best. And that doesn't make them representative of all employees. But so many of them, they were their own worst enemy. They were the reason they were only making what they were making. It wasn't big bad boss that was screwing them over. They were screwing themselves.
It doesn't mean it could be both.
Not really,
Yeah,
because
shitty
if
boss and a
employers,
shitty employee,
what does
too.
what does an employee do if the employer screws them over? Psst, I'm out of here, right?
Well, no, sometimes you're just stuck and you're stuck in some shit.
Why are you stuck? Why is somebody stuck?
A lot of people have less options and they're taking the best that they can get, and so.
For now.
And some employers exploit that too. So, I mean, you can't always I'm not like an Ayn Rand kind of person. I don't like Ayn Rand and
Some
I
of
don't like.
Ayn Rand is good. Okay, I'll tell you this.
All of her ideas are poof. They're like, it's just.
Well, no, trust me, I read some of that, and I read some.
And that's kind of where you're going. Like, if it weren't for these industrialists, everything could.
Well, it's true enough. If it weren't for
would be falling
industrialists, we wouldn't have a phone, a computer,
Oh, definitely.
houses the way we have them.
Definitely,
We
but
wouldn't have.
you don't
Electricity.
have to have such a wealth inequality. People could get paid a lot
Well-
more, and everything could still work, Chip.
No. Think about this.
It could.
No, listen to me. Listen to
Okay.
me. At least, and I'm not saying bad idea or anything, but understand what you're saying. Money is made up. First of all, it does not exist. It's in our heads. You're talking about avatars.
True, yeah.
The ultimate avatar.
Money.
The ultimate avatar is money. It does not exist. So, what exists is our clothes, our phones, this computer, a glass of water. That exists. Even electricity, okay, it's energy, but it exists. If you give people, let's say, we're going to give essentially everybody 50% raise, not the rich, but everybody that makes less than $100,000, which these days $100,000 isn't even that much. Everybody that's making $100,000, we're going to give them a 50% raise. Great, now they can buy the stuff they've been wanting to buy that they need. No, they can't. Where is it? It doesn't exist. You have to make it exist. Okay? People want more food. Well, there has to be more food. You want more housing. You can't just create more money. Now there's more housing. You have to build the housing. Cars, you have to make the cars. Just giving people raises, giving them money, doesn't mean there's more of anything. And so nobody has more of anything just because you gave them more money. That's my only point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I would argue that, let's say you have a successful business. Instead of paying yourself $75 million, maybe you pay yourself.
Oh, I only paid myself $60 million. Don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate.
Maybe this year you only pay yourself $35 million, and you invest in your workers' families. And I mean, this is a radical idea. I'm not talking about anything that can actually happen. But let's say you raise the standard of living of every one of your families, and so all of a sudden they're not worried about money anymore. To them, money is not a worry. What if they use that opportunity to come up with the most brilliant idea and they give it to you, and it makes your company $10 billion?
Okay, and what if they don't?
What if they don't? It's a gamble for
Well,
sure. But all
okay.
you're out is $35 million. And what are you going to do? Throw it on the pile?
No, I get that. Funny thing, because, and I'm not real familiar with this, but back in the earlier days of the Industrial Revolution, and when industrials had to get employees, where did you get them? From the farm. There was no place else to get, mostly from the farm. And people who lived on the farm back then, they weren't living great lives because nobody had electricity or running water, anybody. So, but they didn't have that. They had an outhouse. They lived with the chickens, basically.
They had hookworm and didn't know it.
Whatever, all these things. And these industrialists, would build a factory. Well, they need people to work in the factory. They built the housing you're talking about.
And they built the store, and they
They
made
built a
you
store.
buy the shit from
and
their
they
store.
didn't
and
make you
jacked
buy
up
it,
the
but that was the
prices.
only
Yes, they
store
did.
within 10 miles. No,
I mean,
They paid you
if
a
they
script.
built the factory
Yeah.
and there's only one store there that they built, then they built that situation.
That's true. That's true
You
enough.
know?
Understand though, talking about money again, dollars the way we think of them now, dollars are everywhere in the world now, but in the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution, the dollar wasn't that big of a deal. Banks issued their own money routinely. So you had your money from this bank, your money from the bank, or your money from the industrials who was paying you, his money.
Yeah.
It's all the same difference.
Oh yeah,
So-
definitely. But
so-
you can't
and-
use that money anywhere
Well,
else.
that depends. That depends. No, because if Joe's General Store down the street will take script from that factory and will accept that as payment, then you can pay them.
Exactly, but let's say, in my example, I was thinking, let's say you live in Montana and you make this money, you can't take that money and spend it in New York City. You know, we won't go that far.
That was the same. It didn't matter. Same if you were not some guy working in a factory with script, which again, if you're working in a factory with script in the late 1700s, you're not going anywhere. Nobody went anywhere. The only way to get anywhere was to walk.
30, yeah, I forgot. Oh, you mean didn't get
Yeah,
anywhere.
no, the
Yeah,
only way to
you
get
live
anywhere
where
was to
you're at.
walk. And if you
Yeah.
were rich, you had a horse, so
Yeah.
the horse walked. But
Yeah.
people didn't move around.
The train ride.
Yeah. So that's why localized currency worked, because who was going anywhere anyway? So don't, yeah, I know what you're saying about the script that the factories
No,
issued.
yeah.
And it's true, but put it in that context. People weren't stuck there because of the script, they were stuck there because they were stuck
Yeah.
there. Everybody was.
So it just, in my mind, it's like human nature being what it is, that power corrupts absolutely. And
I
so
agree.
what happens is the more money you get, the less you think that anyone else deserves a part of it. And so you lose your mind. It's my opinion that when you get to a certain level of wealth, you lose your humanity.
I don't think that's true.
It
It can be true.
That's my personal opinion. That's all.
Well,
You
that's
know,
fine.
like, we can definitely agree
That's
on it,
fine,
but
but
that
you
is
look
my
at-
personal opinion.
Okay, well,
And
how about
so-
Bill Gates? Is he a son of a bitch or is he a great guy?
He's just like Elon, who is just like Bezos, and they are all the same. Every one of them is the
Okay,
same.
okay.
Every one of them, whatever
See?
words come out of their mouth, it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Okay, we agree on that.
Yeah,
See?
like seriously,
Yeah.
I don't, whatever. I do my best not to support literally any of it. Bill Gates is sort of a lightning rod. I don't know why they use him as an example all the time, especially the right. It's either Bill Gates or George Soros. It's all I ever hear people trot
Well-
out. There are plenty of other
Oh, absolutely.
horrible billionaires,
Oh,
but they don't like that Bill Gates is in like there's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
what he's
stuff.
up to. I don't
Yeah.
trust him anymore.
He was into maybe vaccines possibly, which people will get way upset about, and
yeah.
something else.
I honestly-
my mom always mentions Bill Gates.
Being as rational as I can be, I just don't trust Bill Gates.
Oh yeah, you say that too, and here we are. Like right now, Anna and I've been using Copilot a lot. This is the AI stuff.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
So everything is whatever. If I had to pick my most hated of all whatever industrialist, it would definitely be Elon Musk. I cannot stand him.
I don't.
I just wish he would shut up. He's like Trump. I just wish they both just shut up. I just don't like listening to them all the time. It was the worst thing for 4 years when Trump was president. His policies, I don't like. There's a lot not to like, but it was mainly just that I just wish he didn't seem. It was so embarrassing. He's just embarrassing.
Which, like Musk or?
Oh yeah, right. Him too. Him too.
Yeah.
But like Trump, whenever he would travel abroad and whenever he would meet with, he just seems like I don't know. He's just embarrassing. He, as representative of America, I was ashamed. And when I went to Europe, people were like, "What the fuck is with this guy?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Seriously."
But the thing is, he is a businessman, and you don't like that.
But he's a grifter.
And it doesn't bother me.
He's not a grift. He's a grifter. He is
No.
a tax cheat, and he is a fraud, and he has committed fraud.
He
And
probably
has
nobody.
committed tax
Consider
fraud.
this, Chris, because I'm not a fan of
You're
Trump.
saying everybody has, but he has.
No,
Whether
no,
everybody else has or
listen,
not.
listen.
Okay.
Okay, probably, and I've had this thought before, probably nobody has been so rigorously investigated, no money, no dollar spared in the cost of investigating. Anybody has ever been investigated like Donald
It's
Trump.
because he
has been.
lives so.
No, listen, no. It's
It's
because he was president. They didn't want him to be president.
No, it's because he lived his whole
Chris,
life as a
he
fraud.
didn't get investigated. He's been investigated. But he didn't get investigated like that until he became president.
Well, will Chris and I still be friends after all this? You can find out in episode 4 of Conversations with Real People, Chris, at Individuals Unite, and I am the Radical Individualist. See you next time.